You thought there were just 2 games. There is a third, ladies and gentlemen. Rise Esports take on Skizm Esports in the third and arguably the best game of the day. My producer's realizing what a terrible decision he made by letting me do that. Swift, are you ready for it?
I'd say I was ready for it. I just was not expecting it.
You're ready for it, but not expecting it.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, right.
We'll take it.
Okay, so Rise Esports 1-1 against US Army on their first 2 games of Worlds, whereas Skizm Esports, they took the 2-0 loss to Team Fish Tacos. There's not too much to really go on in the sense that these results don't give us an indication of who's going to win this game.
Very true. I mean, right now we have Rise Esports versus Skizm. It's the only match that they're going to be playing tonight. We're going to be sitting around here waiting for Pro Draft in the meantime, but yeah, if you were sticking around watching previously, we saw the likes of Team Fish Tacos just completely wipe out US Army Esports in a clean 2-0 sweep, to say the least.
Yeah, as we wait for the teams to get underway, we will be doing Pro Draft and then moving over to the in-client picks and bans. So we should be able to get underway in not too long. Again, I'm going to be looking towards those bot lanes, the Kaiser Nautiluses and the Zyra Kansas. We have entered picks and bans, Rise on the blue side, Skizm on the red side.
And Evelyn first banned away. Obviously, we'd say that Evelyn would be sort of a priority pick, definitely a menace against uncoordinated teams to have to deal with. And then we have...
Wait, Evelyn's one of the original 40 champions?
It seems to be.
She looks like, I don't know, a more evil Jinx that's purple. But the Riven, as you mentioned, getting banned, as well as the Ahri and the Kayle. We didn't see any focus towards the Kayle in the first 2 games of the day, but that will be banned away for game 3.
Yeah, Kayle has been incredibly strong over the past couple of patches up in the top lane. Same with Riven. She hasn't been as strong after a couple of nerfs on the hands of a pretty skilled Riven player. She's definitely still something to fear about. We got Morgan Pantheon, in which we did see them have some sort of priority in the previous 2 games. Morgana, specifically, either banned away or picked up in the first game as well. And Pantheon, we saw it in the second game, but it just didn't have as much impact as you would possibly hope for if you were the side of US Army during that game.
Yeah, and as we see all the first bans coming out, the Renekton will get picked up. I was hyping that up in game 1, and we do get to see the first pick. Renekton, as a Zyra Khan lovers duo, will at least be hovered and now locked in for Skizm.
Yeah, Zyra Khan, not that bad of a combo to say the least, with Xayah being one of the best ADCs in the meta right now. Speaking of the other best ADC in the meta right now, you have Kai'Sa Nautilus, which is probably the most, I'd say the 2 strongest bot lane duos that you could pick in the current meta right now. Definitely just gonna handshake both of them to each side, neither team wanting to ban either of them because, well, if they're gonna let you play them, might as well.
Yeah, and I'm pretty sure we were talking about, just before we entered picks and bans, I expect to see a Kai'Sa Nautilus and a Zyra Khan. No surprises that we see exactly that. As Fiora will be the final pick of the first phase for Skizm. So it's Fiora versus Renekton in the top lane, unless Rise want to do a bit of a switcheroo and put Renekton into the mid lane, as the J4 will get banned.
Yeah, Fiora is probably the champ I have the most mastery points on. I played her a bunch, especially earlier on when I first started playing League, and I can tell you for a fact that in a skilled matchup, like when both Renekton and Fiora are equally matched, I'd say Renekton has quite a bit of an advantage in the early game. You can pretty much hold out your W in this matchup for an extremely long amount of time, and Fiora is just so susceptible to the straight up insane amount of damage that Renekton has early. So Fiora definitely more so of a scaling pick into the Renekton, has some sort of potential to fight back, but definitely going for that option of getting out of lane as soon as possible.
Gragas will be the final ban from Rise Esports. The jungler will be a Sejuani and an Elise. I haven't seen much Sejuani recently due to the nerfs that it got, I think, 2 patches ago. Elise, on the other hand, I really like this nice early game aggression, and of course, the Renekton and Elise, a very good duo in the top lane.
Yeah, it's like this gets locked in. The amount of dive potential that Rise has right now is monstrous, and they do. Having the sit up in a top lane by yourself isolated against a Renekton, throwing an Elise on top of that, and it becomes nigh impossible to play against a gank, or at least a dive. But you do have Fiora. She has potential to outplay these types of things, especially if she decides to focus on Renekton in these scenarios, but quite strong jungle picks coming out from both of these teams. Sejuani, I wouldn't say as much, but nothing to scoff at, needless to say.
And as my younger brother would say, the Akalai getting locked in for Rise. We saw that getting banned in both games between Team Fish Tacos and US Army. However, Rise will pick that one up for Lights Out.
Yeah, strong solo laner. She does do well into both. Fiora does kind of do poorly into both Renekton and Akali early game. So they could definitely flex this around depending on which matchup they want to give into this Fiora. And Victor locked in, kind of opting for some more range in wherever they decide to slot him in.
I'm slightly sad actually, not because Victor got locked in, but because the mid laner for Skizm is called Your Nurse. And if he had the Akali, he could have played, you know, the Nurse Akali. Which, oh, that'd be amazing. That's all that's in my head right now. Forget about matchups and all of that kind of stuff. Your Nurse with the Nurse Akali skin. Right, okay. So, going back though to all seriousness, we're talking about the Renekton Elise being a strong duo when Elise does turn up in the top side. I want to talk about just the kind of individual matchups though between the Fiora and the Renekton and the Akali versus the Victor.
Yeah, if it's going to be Akali versus Victor, definitely like to have that range advantage into the Akali early because, as I've heard other people call it, Akali is a quote-unquote melee champion at level 1 with that range on her Q. She does an absurd amount of damage into a lot of melee matchups if you allow her to get her passive off. So definitely going to be using that range advantage on Victor, and Victor got quite a bit of buffs the past couple of patches to like pretty much all of his abilities. Like his ulti ticks faster, does about the same amount of damage, but rewards you if you get it more often. The slows on all of his abilities, such as his E, and he doesn't have to pretty much rely on Aurelize as an item component now, and he can just spec into more damage.
Yeah, as I had a point that I wanted to bring up, but I have forgotten it. So I'm going to go and transition over to the bot lane. Kai'Sa Nautilus into the Zyrakan.
Yeah, Kai'Sa Nautilus lane is definitely a strong pick, especially once it hits level 6. And the root coming out from Nautilus, like the hook root combo, if it lands onto either of them, it's going to guarantee a bunch of damage, even if it lands onto Rakan. Because if you can get the root off onto Rakan, it negates how easily he can get in and out of a fight or in and out of a messed up engage if he needs to. So definitely going to be looking to see how the Zyrakan play around the Nautilus, because that's the real difference maker in this matchup, especially at level 6. Depending on who Nautilus decides to go for is definitely what's going to determine the outcome of this lane.
Yeah, so I remembered what I wanted to say. The ADC for Skizm Esports is not Efok as it looks. His name is actually pronounced Coffee. So when you do hear us talking about Coffee and you're like, what on earth are these casters talking about? I know it's 3 a.m. for milky cereal, but you know, stop talking about coffee. But his name is pronounced Coffee. Also, another thing I want to bring up is the Renekton has been flexed to the mid lane here, Swift.
Yeah, it seems like they're going to give the Renekton over to Lights Out and put him in the mid lane, because as I was saying, as we brought up before, you could definitely put Renekton in the mid lane, and Akali does do well into Fiora in the early game. So if you want someone that'd be able to get on top of this Victor, which we know that Victor typically isn't building this armor build as he once was previously, it makes him a lot squishier and a lot susceptible to someone who can get on top of him relatively easily. And it seems like that's what they're going to be opting for.
However, I do want to look back towards this jungle matchup. J Galaxy on the Elise versus Funkles on the Sejuani. Because with the nerfs that have hit the Sejuani, I don't know, I just don't really rate it that highly. Obviously, it's still a big pick if you can land at those glacial prisons. But just generally, I feel that it's going to get outmatched by this Elise, especially in the early game.
Yeah, the early game is definitely going to be something to look out for, especially like in the mid lane. You can definitely go for the Renekton and Elise gank. You could definitely go for the top lane gank as well. Elise has a lot of different options, let alone the Nautilus level 6. It's a lot harder to get it off on the Xayah. Xayah is one of the best ADCs to play into a Nautilus because she can kite back relatively well, and that ultimate negates Nautilus ultimate if you time it properly. So definitely going to be looking out to see how Elise plays around these matchups in both the top side of the map and bot lane. And as far as Sejuani, she does have like a more inclination to go up into the top lane to use her passive more effectively with the Fiora because of her passive where she can stack up the stun a lot quicker with melee champions. So other than that, there isn't as much gank potential, I would say, in the mid lane, but top and bot definitely something to look out for if you're Funkles on this Sejuani.
And of course, J Galaxy on the Elise, you know, just so much gank potential. Can probably gank in any of these lanes. Maybe a bit more difficult against HTK, who does have that riposte on the Fiora.
Yeah, the riposte makes it a lot easier to sort of combat this Elise gank, and it makes it easier for Fiora to not have to worry about this Renekton matchup, which is a lot more volatile than the Akali matchup. Personally, if HTK decides to go, say, for magic resist, like say Merc Shreds or Hex Drinker early, then this is going to negate so much pressure off of this Akali, off of this Elise, because with that Hex Drinker, you're just not going to be able to just blow Fiora up early game where she's supposed to be squishy at this point. So if she optimizes in that sense, once the game gets late enough, then there isn't really going to be too much of a threat coming out from neither of these champions, at least to her. So
yeah, and yeah, again, I just can't really see past this jungle matchup, and I mean, my money here is on Rise Esports just because I like Renekton, I like Elise. I personally don't like Nautilus, but I know how strong the Kai'Sa Nautilus is, and unfortunately that it is a counter into my favorite, you know, Rakan pick. What about you, Swift, though?
yeah, I'd have to go with you on that sense. I play both Kai'Sa and Xayah. People used to know me as a Kai'Sa Xayah 2-trick because that was the only ADCs I could ever play at a decent level. So I've like just seen so many matchups of them, but I'd take the Kai'Sa Nautilus over the Xayah Rakan, at least at this point, especially with the rest of the comp that Rise has right now. There's just so much potential for them to get engages off unless Coffee and Nikita can find a way to snowball this bot lane, or HTK can become a menace up in the top lane from a split push. So, a bunch of my favorite champions in this game. I'm enjoying to see how this goes.
Well, Swift might be a Kai'Sa Xayah 2 trick because he can play them both to a decent level. People call me the no champion, no trick, because I apparently can't play any champion to a decent level. However, we're going to be heading into a short break, and we'll be right back with a third and final match of the day. Stay tuned. welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, as the champions have been summoned onto the Rift for the final time tonight. Rise Esports take on Skizm Esports. But I think what both teams would be very happy with is if you would bet on which team you think is going to win. The contest is still running and will be closing soon. As, well, Skizm looking for an invade, but they will just guard against an invade. Also, if you haven't already, do hit ABL up with a follow or a subscription. All the proceeds do go towards making the league better and production. Well, league and production better. And increases your quality of viewing, let's say. Very fancy term. But here we go, Swift. The final game. I'm all on Rise. I probably should have put some bets down, but I forgot to do it because I'm too tired.
Tired, boys. It is okay. We'll see how
Well,
this game plays out, and you put your prediction now, and we'll give you a consultation prize of a good job if you get it right, and a too bad, so sad if you get it wrong.
Okay, that sounds amazing. Right. Also, I thought of some cool names for all of the champs on Rise Esports, like, as in what they do. So, starting off with Toxic Cat, we've got the Engager. Then you've got Sanctus, who is, okay, ADC we'll call him, right? This very novel name, right? Stop laughing at me, Nick, right? Lights Out, we're gonna call the Slice and Dice.
Okay.
J Galaxy, we're calling the Enable. Okay, actually, I'm gonna hold that thought because the CC through onto NKDA. He's taking the damage. The fourth shot is available. Sanctus can't get in range though, and Coffee will be able to force out Toxic Cat and Sanctus. And, well, thankfully their Skizm Esports saved me from embarrassing myself further, as HTK getting quite aggressive on the Fiora is going to be able to find the Duelist Dance procs. And Lights Out looking a little bit worse for wear.
Yeah, definitely anticipating the W. That's pretty much what this matchup boils down to. If Fiora can predict when Renekton's going to use W, then it makes the matchup so much easier. And just, if Fiora ever gets that W landed, if Renekton's not ridiculously ahead, the trade should always be in the favor of Fiora. And I think that's what they decided to opt for, because they did in fact lane swap.
And there's a reason we call her the Enabler. However, the riposte will come through. We thought this would be a top lane thing. However, someone didn't give J Galaxy the memo that it's no longer your nurse playing mid, and it is HTK.
Yeah, HTK pulling the Fiora to mid lane. I was going to try to mention it, but it just seemed off to be like, oh, Fiora mid, because I have seen it before. There are a few Fiora players in high elo, like say Forgotten Project and Giraffe Hugs, that do go for a Fiora mid, and it works quite well.
Oh, Call of the Meeg on to Funkles. HTK, does he want to step forward? He will step forward. The heal comes through. Riposte straight into the ulti. Lights Out, flashes away, and the dredge land a little bit late, but flash over the wall. And Sanctus picks up the kill. Blast going. J Galaxy looking to go in. Rappel in. And the damage will come through. Rise get the first 2 kills of the game.
HTK incredibly close on that, but ooh.
Oh, grand entrance. And the battle dance straight back out.
This is a pretty solid rotation from Rise there. Most of their team responded incredibly quickly to that rotation, that possible fight that was happening up in the top side of the map. As you see, Renekton was able to dash back out after following up and nearly getting the kill on the Sejuani, but the flash away from the Fiora makes sure that he stays alive, and flash follow-up from Sanctus picks him up the first kill in this very decisive bot lane that they definitely want to get a lead into. And also J Galaxy picking them off.
Meanwhile, the quote-unquote melee Akali, you know, just dishing out the damage to the ranged Victor. As here comes Sejuani for a cheeky little gank in the mid lane. However, Lights Out has already sliced and diced his way back under turret. And Funkles will go and be funky over on the Krugs.
But yeah, it was quite quite a bit of a trade. HCK definitely getting the better of Lights Out here on these W versus W trades. If that stun landed, I'm pretty sure Lights Out could have possibly died there. The stun coming out from Sejuani would definitely given HCK ample time to do quite a bit of damage, but we'll see how the rest of the matchup goes as HCK is a bit behind on CS. That's sort of natural for this matchup. Can't particularly walk up the entire time into a Renekton. I think that goes the same for almost every top laner.
Yeah, I wouldn't recommend walking into a hungry croc, as I think he just saw a glimpse of Funkles and he was like, I am out of here. And he will make his way back to his side of the lane as J Galaxy will spot out the red trinket with a ward of his own. And
Very true. It seems like they're going to be going over down towards the bot lane and maybe have their eyes set on this Mountain Dragon, as they do have bot lane and mid lane prio as of right now. Wave is shoving in.
what has it been so far with the games today and massive goal leads by about 6 minutes in? This is already 1.5k gold advantage to Rise Esports.
Yeah, it's piling up. So Dragonblade just unable to get the better of Victor in some of these trades, but he still has yet to back. So we'll see once he finishes his back what he comes back with.
As Sanctus scores a goal with the Void Seeker, threading the needle between Coffee and NKDA, as J Galaxy playing very aggressively on the Elise, but he does have Toxic Cat nearby for some, moral support. He'll steal away the blue buff, and Stretchline's going to be able to land onto NKDA, who goes in with a grand entrance, not going to be able to find anyone, and battle dance straight out. Now the jungle contestation.
Ooh, no
J Galaxy wins Smite Fight. As you mentioned, there is a TP, and Dragonblade coming in from behind is level 6, has the perfect execution available. Is this going to be the 5-man dive bot side? And it doesn't look like it will be, but it will be 5 members to the Mountain Drake. Jonas has got the top wave now pushing for him, and he should be able to get a little bit of a CS advantage over Dragon.
Yeah, he'll probably be able to pick up a plate possibly if he's able to shove in enough.
Very early riposte as the Dominus comes through. Lights Out will go in. There is no riposte available for HK, but that is going to be the grand challenge coming through, and HTA picks up the kill. And unfortunately, it's Lights Out for Lights Out.
That indeed, and Lights Out backing after death, force back I should say, picks up the BF, so it's definitely going to help him out in this matchup where if Renekton just builds a bunch of AD, it makes it a lot harder for Fiora to trade into him. It has to be sort of more like an all-in, as you saw HCK realize that, and it's like, okay, he used his W, he doesn't have like surprise damage or like damage that's going to come up front anymore, so he just turns it back around and picks up the trade off of that and wins the 1v1.
Also, I just want to apologize in advance, because as a League of Legends caster, I'm also a sim racing caster, and all of my races start off with me saying, lights out and away we go. That is going to happen at some point.
At some point, it's going to happen.
Yeah, without a doubt. Ooh. As Glacial Prison lands in the mid lane, lights out, dashing out to safety. Actually, that was a perfect chance to use it, but riposte will land, finds a slow. Lights Out is already out, and J Galaxy will look to find some spider explosion damage, but will be unable.
Yeah, Lights Out forced to back, gets chunked out really low. Flash or flash.
Ooh! Oh, J Galaxy flashing forward, finds a cocoon. Oh! The Shuriken Flip won't be able to find its mark. Dragonblade failing the flashy.
Close but no cigar. Definitely does force Funky's off and forces him to back, and stays ahead of him as far as the camp advantage as of right now. So not a bad spot to be put in. It seems like the back might be cancelled. Ooh.
Yeah, just looking to cancel the back. Won't fully commit for a killer. Would be a very brave J Galaxy if he did look to pick up the kill on a full HP Victor. As in the bot lane, Coffee and NKDA just push the wave towards Rise, who have just bat. And it is a Manamune that has been picked up for Sanctus. I always get that one wrong. I always get it wrong.
There's Manamune, and then when it's fully stacked up, Muramana, which even then, I play ADC a bunch, and I end up just calling Manamune Muramana, like, even when I buy it.
My issue is I call it Manamune for some reason.
Manamune.
Yeah.
I mean, we take those close enough.
And then, like, it just becomes weird, and I'm like, Manamuna, and God only knows how many Annas I'm putting at the end of words. Is Lights Out is pushing a big wave towards HTK. We've got the second Drake of the game on its way in 1.5 minutes. It will be an Infernal, and we did see Rise send 5 members for it last time, and well, I don't know how they can top that. Maybe they'll find a 6th member somewhere as the Lights Out.
Ooh.
Dashing out to safety, will get hit by the Glacial Prism regardless. Grand Challenge has been issued. Does a Lights Out have an answer? At least it's too late. Will have prime seats to watch the death of his mid lane as Toxic Cat will not fall. He flashes over the Dragon Pit wall just in a time. Will blast Cone out to safety.
Aftershock working and putting in dividends for Toxic Cat there. Saves his life just in time before he's able to dash out of the way. And Lights Out just getting constantly pressured by Funkles and HTK right here in the mid lane. Less room for him to have to run away and possibly escape.
We can see on the replay there, the Glacial Prism just finding its mark perfectly.
Yeah. Also, nice on the Q. Dodging out and getting the last vital as well as dodging on the Cocoon. Easy turnaround for them. And right now, Fiora slowly but surely getting closer and closer to the point in the game where she doesn't have to worry too much about getting out-traded by the Renekton. As we see, he's trying to build a Sirojin, which is definitely beneficial in a matchup like this, but HTK definitely optimizing and playing it safe, getting Phage and going for that double Dorans, making sure he has more than enough HP. Because that's definitely one of the worst parts of the matchup. When you have just straight damage and Renekton's damage just overpowers you in a trade.
Yeah, and this kind of wants me to... This... Right, hang on. Give me a second. Right. This brings me... Okay, I don't know. But essentially this brings me to what I want to talk about next. Yeah, there we go. That's what I wanted to say. This brings me to what I want to talk about next, which is kind of the windows where Rise Esports are going to be big, because they're going to be really strong in this mid part of the game. Even though Sanctus scales well late, I feel that that's just a safety net, because the majority of their team will be hitting some big power spikes come that 20-minute mark.
Yeah, power spikes are going to be coming in soon. Especially, like, say, when Coffee finishes up his Essence Reaver and starts getting boots. Ooh.
Here we go. As Glacial Prism's going to be able to find his mark. Sanctus takes down NKDA. Toxic Cat with a Dominus will burn the stopwatch at HTK low. Infernal Drake doing some work as out comes the Chaos Storm. Your Nurse picking up a kill and Dragon Blade will fall. Can't find enough damage with a 5-point strike. 4 kills for 2 for Skizm Esports. Sanctus, run. Don't stay, don't look, just run. Oh no, he gets hit by the Q though. Flash Q finds the mark. Sorry, he got hit by the E, and the Flash Q picks up the kill.
Yeah, really well played out there. But yeah, as we see this fight start to happen, you get the Rakan engage, just immediately blows up Elise, and then Fiora nearly pumped out, but the W keeps her alive, is able to chunk out a lot of the damage, or at least sustain a lot of the damage that they're trying to throw onto her. And with Akali up in the back line trying to scrap up some sort of kills to make up for the engage that was thrown onto them, it just wasn't enough. On top of that last kill just thrown over from the Victor, as we saw.
And I feel like Sanctus wouldn't do very well in a Zombieland movie because he doesn't know rule number 1. Cardio. Don't stop running.
Just cardio it out.
Going. I know it's not a zombie science, but the rule still applies. If there's someone scary chasing you down, just don't try to kite. Just run.
Just run. Oh, CHTK sitting up in the top lane now. They might try to go for a Akali here.
Dragon Blade will get hit by the E, and... well, the gravity Stunfield, tries to predict the dash. However, so much damage coming through from that Victor with the Hex Calls.
Renekton's here. He's trying to zone them off away from the Akali, but who's getting zoned off of what?
Spider Bomb does a little bit of damage. Lights out with the Dominus. He's gonna go in. They find the dredge line. Lights out picks up the kill. Death Charge will find two. Flash forward. J Galaxy repel in. They're looking for Yorna. Tries to turn around. Glacial Prism finds his mark, but the Victor will fall regardless. J Galaxy picking up the second kill.
It's TK getting a bit greedy there, and some things we all know on Fiora.
Dragon Blade, the quickness will come through. Dragon Blade, can he get out? Oh, he dashes to the wrong side. Out comes the Featherstorm, flashes out of the Blade Caller. Dragon Blade, the Ignite ticks it down, but he will be able to survive as that's the wrong place to back. Lights out. Flash forward, Funkles picks up the kill. As Void Seeker not going to be able to land onto NKDA, but the dredge line will. Killer Instinct could come through, as CC does automatically proc a passive. One stack, sorry.
Yeah, pretty solid. As far as picking up the kill onto Lights Out, he was able to pick up the kill earlier onto the Victor, if I'm not mistaken. But even with that, just not enough. Sedge able to pick up the kill after that. But as we see here on the replay, that missed Q from Fiora definitely just hampers how much mobility Fiora has. It puts on a way longer cooldown, and just getting that CC layered on top of her just obliterates her with 3 people there. And then Victor just slightly too low, just gets ticked by that last auto attack. It seems like Elise picks up the kill onto him. Last auto from her secures that, and as we saw, Renekton just a little greedy on the back.
Yeah, we'll be able to get a fair bit of CS. Actually, he's almost 20 up on the Fiora, as well, Dragon Blade and Jonas have made their way to the bot side of the map. It's currently 1 turret for each team, but Coffee is 2-0-2 right now. And as
Potential
you mentioned,
3-man up in the top lane as well.
J Galaxy will get spotted out. Well, Funkle sees a lot of red shadows, but he's going to play aggressively as... Oh, the Cocoon won't be able to find his mark. Dragon Blade steps onto a ward, will get hit by the Fey Feather. Sorry, Gleaming Quill, pardon me.
Yeah, Gleaming Quill. Take those. Half the time I don't even remember the names of the abilities, but it is what it is.
Glacial Prison is available here if Skizm want to go for a dive. I mean, you say ability names are difficult. I realized last game. Do you know what the Gnar ultimate is called?
It's just Gnar.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
And I only just found that, which means that I can just say the Gnar ultimate, which is amazing because I don't have to learn an extra name. But
I mean, there you go. Right, making it easy for you.
yeah. That is until they keep on reworking champions, and all the names that I thought I knew, I now have to erase from my brain and relearn it. A bit like Kale.
Oh,
Thanks,
yeah.
Riot.
Thank
And
you.
Pantheon.
You know.
And
But other than that, going back to the game, seems like they're going to be prepping up for this dragon, which definitely going to have a lot of priority. It's going to be a cloud dragon. Not the best of drakes, but when it comes to making rotations, if you're an Elise, if you're a Nautilus, you'd want to have that extra movement speed. And Fiora opting to go straight for that tower in a possible 1v1.
yeah. Can crit onto turrets now with the second E. However, Lights Out, the grand challenge has been issued. And HTK flashing over the wall to match Lights Out. Picks up the kill.
Yeah, HTK is getting to that point. Once he finishes that first set, he becomes a menace up in a side lane, and let alone when he gets to 2, then we'll see how this Fiora just, at least I would hope to see, outplays the rest of this team. Can't forget about Sanctus though. 3-1 on that Kaisa, stacking up the man immune as we speak. He's over halfway completed to it, but doesn't seem like anyone's on the side of Rise is willing to contest this dragon.
Yeah, as you mentioned, the Cloud Drake is up and the Cloud Drake is gone. Skizm Esports will pick up their second Elemental Drake of the game. And the fourth Elemental Drake of the game is going to be another mountain, so that could be 2 mountains going over onto Rise. So apparently, you only have 1 minute left to bet on which team you think is going to win. So if you want to get some juicy extra points, 3 points if you think you know who's going to win, then you can go on ahead and do that in the Twitch chat.
I'd say it's relatively close. I mean, the kill score is 6-9 in favor of Skizm, but the gold lead is only about 2k, maybe 2.5 or something like that. But a very close game comparatively to the previous games that we've had tonight.
Yeah.
So definitely going to be interesting to see how the rest of this game plays out. It's definitely going to revolve around who plays these team fights better, or who gets to pick on the who, at least I would say.
Yeah, and you know, when we do get to the late part of this game, even with Kai'Sa being so huge, you still got a Fiora who's going to do so much damage and be such a big split push threat. Voidseeker find it smart, and in we go with the engage. The charm comes in, but the Rakan gets deleted. Dredgeline finds his mark. Goodbye, Xayah. As the Blade Caller will find the CC, almost takes down Dragon Blade, but now looking towards HTK, who will blast Kun away, but nosies forward. A Baron will get started 21 minutes in. There is a Baron, there is a Mounted Drake on the side of Rise. HTK is here, so is Funkles. Arctic Soul available. Baron getting low. Chaos Storm will come through. CC onto Yornurse. Yornurse now getting chased down as Rise Esports turn from the Baron. Aggro though was not reset by his lights out. Takes a lot of damage. And that will be the Baron secure. Now looking towards the Funkles who comes into the pit. The stopwatch comes through. Funkles finding the pick onto lights out. But look at HTK in the side. He's finding so many you pick. Toxic Cat surely will get taken out here. And there is only one member of Rise who will survive with the Baron buff. J Galaxy will run for the hills. HTK tries to decide, does he want to dive? And he will decide against that. Skizm will pick the outer turret in the mid lane and the final outer turret of the game.
But yeah, the Baron's loss taken by Rise Esports. As the fight was going on in the pit with Sejuani and with Elise, they were trying to fight off the potential steal. But that just gave free reign to HTK to just go into the back line and just output so much damage, taking out that Kai'Sa, taking out Akali on that back end of the fight.
Oh,
with the red buff.
Will land. Sanctus going in and Dragon Blade with the TP in from behind. The shutdown goes over to Dragon Blade as lights out. Unfortunately, there were no lights in that bush for him, and he will get spotted out, and he will get taken out.
Yeah, lights out. This certainly has not been the game for him. 1-7 on the Renekton, kind of being put down, or at least, yeah, just cut down to pieces so far, and then, ooh, Root nearly landed.
Oh, grand entrance finds the knockup, but the Dredgeline had already propped onto the turret. Toxic Cat able to get out, but despite Rise Esports finding the pick onto HTK, Skizm find the inner turret in the bot side of the map, and they find the pick onto lights out. Both mid laners getting taken out.
Yeah, right now HTK is massive. They're picking up kills and picking up turrets all over the map, even with the Baron buff on J Galaxy. They just aren't able to capitalize on it when most of their members are either on opposite sides of the map, or they just keep falling down to picks such as lights out there in the bot lane. Definitely just gave up a tower and damage onto the second mid tower as well. But I'm just excited to see how this Fiora plays around the split push now. Triforce is pretty much the go button for Fiora when it comes to split pushing in a side lane, because a tower will instantly just shred thanks to her E-crits, her Q proccing on towers now, and Sheen procs, let alone anything other than her raw damage.
Scuttle Tab will be secured by who? It will be Skizm. Voidseeker finds its mark, but Rise know better than to engage upon it. You know, as you mentioned, a few items actually coming through as well, as Sanctus getting very close to the Runas. Hurricane has Dragon Blade stepped too far forward. The Grand Challenge gets issued. Dragon Blade dashing around everywhere. Perfect execution away, but the flash forward Dragon Blade will get taken down. And now HTK is left to free farm in the top side, but he's actually going to back. He has a TP available and he can rejoin for this fight around Drake. or he can just return to the top lane, and he's going to look to walk to the top side of the map.
Yeah, it gets relatively low, doesn't want to push his luck up in the top side of the map, or just wants to keep the top tower alive and provide some sort of pressure up there, because if the second top tower is still up, you kind of have that looming threat of like, oh, when's Fiora going to sit there in the side lane and push the tower out? What are we going to have to deal with her? It's a lot easier to have to respond to.
Dominus coming through, the focus onto your Nurse, the gravity field won't be... Well, it will zone lights out away as the E comes through, lights out, looking just to slice and dice forward to close the gap. Flash is available, he will flash, Call of the Meek. Lights out has had enough, and he says your life ends here. And he will pick up the kill onto your Nurses. HDK, look at the damage onto the turret. Dashes out, and will probably just back and maybe look to push it the bot side of the map now. Stretch line, gonna land onto Funkles, the Arctic Assault out as Void Seeker will fall shy of its mark.
In the meantime, it seems if I assume what HCK is building correctly, it seems like HCK with that Vamp up there double longsword, I'm assuming he's going to be building towards a Death's Dance, and that's just going to provide so much pseudo tankiness for this Fiora, and it's going to let him last a lot longer in a lot of these fights. Just having that extra bleed effect and increased healing on all damage instead of just AD benefits her so much here.
Well, Funkles, Void Seeker finds its mark, but the Arctic Assault as the focus coming through onto HDK in the bot side rivers. There comes the Killer Instinct. Goodbye, HDK. As J Galaxy might be forced to sacrifice, like he cannot get out of the chain CC. Dragonblade a little bit late in, and he's going to be forced to flash out, just about surviving with a couple of 100 HP. The flashy almost finding the kill, but there's the Chaos Storm. Sanctus will heal and flash out. All sums are down for the ADC from Rise Esports.
Yeah, pretty solid pick on the HDK. If it wasn't for the Kaisa, I'm pretty sure HDK would have gotten a double kill there. But I'd say prompts to J Galaxy, extending out that pick that they got onto him up in the top lane definitely prevented the rest of SKZ from following up on that Fiora, which that could have turned ugly really quickly.
And, you know, we're 27 minutes in this game, but this game did get stalled out because Rise picked up at that Baron. And now Skizm will look towards the Baron themselves. They've got the Fiora TPing as well. And there should be no contestation from Rise Esports. They're going to make their way over, but I don't think they can clean through Skizm as quickly as Rise were able to do on that first Baron.
Yeah, having that Mountain Drake's definitely helping them accelerate this Baron taking possibility a lot faster. And then you also have Coffee, who's sitting on this IE Essence River Rapid Fire on Zaya. She's fully come online. She has so much damage capability, especially onto that Baron, so that stuff just shreds almost instantly. Speaking of which, Rise Sanctus, he's on his 3 items now. He's sitting on a BF sword, possibly build that to like maybe a GA or an IE, but with Mermana completely stacked, both AD carries are officially online, and they're going to be putting on some major damage as this game progresses.
Yeah, HTK now pushing in the bot side is going to get hit by the Cocoon. So much damage, so fast, as that's going to be the pick for Rise. 1 Baron member down, but that's not going to be nearly enough if Rise want to turn this game around. I say turn the game around. They're only 200 gold behind, but it feels like Skizm are in complete control right now.
Yeah, it seems to be that way. I mean, you have Elise, and she does damage throughout most of the game. Kaisa does, in fact, scale, but does she scale harder than Coffee when he gets a free positioning the auto attack with his W activated? Do you scale harder than a split pushing Fiora? These are questions that are going to be pretty hard to answer the later the game goes, depending on how these team fights play out. So
TP coming into the middle of a Skizm. As here comes Toxic Cat. This might be a really good pick from Rise. They take down the Rakan. Now looking for the rest of the members as the Kaiser will get taken down. The Akali into the back line. Finds a Coffee. Dragonblade, what more can he find? Looking for your Nurse, who's just picked up the double kill himself. As his wrath comes through. Triple kill for your Nurse. And it is 4 kills for Skizm. As Rise only find 2 for themselves. And as Fiora pings on our lobby chat. Infernal Drake is up in 15 seconds. Skizm will pick up the inner turret.
Yeah, as we get into this fight, sorry to cut you off. Just looking at the previous fight, that TP though, nice zone just coming out from the Akali, stalling out that fight, and they're just kiting back, and that's definitely what a Xayah wants. And Kai'Sa ulting in right in front of the Xayah, taking a bunch of that damage. You have Akali being able to pick up a lot of the kills over on the back end is similar to previous fights, but it just isn't enough compared to the tankiness of a Sedge and the damage output of a Victor at this point in the game.
And correct me if that was wrong, but that was a 5v4 because HTK was dead.
Oh. Nearly. But yeah, it's pretty solid. Pretty solid, like trying to get a kill. HTK sitting in the bush trying to pick off the Renekton. W's early in respect to the fact that if he gets stunned up, he probably dies there. So he backs off almost immediately.
And now the Baron empowered recalls coming in from Skizm as that they will just look to reset once again. Funkles with the adaptive helm and gargoyle stone play having been completed. And the death stance, as you were alluding to earlier, has been also picked up by HTK.
At least this way, she's not going to be as susceptible to the Akali burst and the Elise burst, which is those are the two main threats I would say that Fiora has. If like even Kai'Sa as well, having that Q damage from Kai'Sa just unload immediately onto you is not good for anyone with like almost no defensive stats at this point. I mean, the only HP she's getting is from Triforce, and that doesn't give that much at all.
Oh, CC coming through with the cocoon. The grand exit away, and Coffee's not going to be able to find anything with the Blade Call, although Lights Out does get taken down pretty low, and even with the element of surprise, Rise Esports, they can't win the 2v2 between J Galaxy and Lights Out versus the Lovers Duo.
Yeah, a lot of damage coming out from Coffee right now. Xayah's at that point in the game where she gets any sort of free time to auto someone, they just start melting nearly instantly. And as you see, 3 people essentially were sent up to the top lane to kind of match HTK in his split push. They have to clear out the jungle vision, make sure that he feels some sort of pressure of being up there all by himself. But if HTK keeps this up, it's slowly but surely going to try to spread Rise thinner and thinner to the point where they might even have to take some uneven fights. And as you said before, that previous fight around like this part of the map where we're watching right now, it was a 5v4 and they lost. So
yeah,
needless to say, they're
speaking of 5v4s, it might be 4 members of Skizm once again in the bot side. The Gravity Field finds his mark, but Dragon Blade inside the Twilight Shroud cannot find any way to find any assassinations. As another inhibitor turret will fall. The inhibitor should be respawning in the mid lane fairly soon. I'm not sure what the exact timer for it is. However, Skizm are happy to stall out. They have a Baron up in 20 seconds and an Elder Drake in 2 minutes. And that's an Elder on a double Infernal.
Double Inferno, 4 dragons. That's going to be putting in so much pressure into a lot of these fights. If you thought Xayah could shred before, just wait until she's able to pick up an Elder Dragon if the game does get to that point. I also like to point out the turret counter. I mean, you have Skizm sitting on 8 towers compared to only 3 on the side of Rise right now. It just goes to show that they have a lot of pressure, at least trying to push down side lanes with this Fiora and with a lot of the members on their team. Speaking of which, just concentrating. But
I don't know why Funkles isn't around the Baron. However, Dragonblade doing a good job just to keep Funkles back, actually preventing his path to the Baron right now, as well Skizm taking the north side, Rise taking the south side, and they will get control over
Akali on the back end.
Oh, as you mentioned, Akali coming in from behind. There's a quickness, finds her 2 members with the grand entrance, but that is a Jonas getting taken down. No members of Rise have fallen yet, but look at the health bars. Dragonblade super low as it's Lights Out, and Rise are going to be forced to back. They can't even go for Baron because if they fight now, they will get destroyed. Cocoon land. They find the pick though. Another kill for Rise. But look at HDK. Here is the fight. J Galaxy gets taken down instantly. And this is what Skizm need. They find the 4 kills so quickly. Skizm come out on top. And they knew that they just had to get their members to the fight and they would win. Third Baron of the game will be going over to Skizm. They take it so quickly. They will back. 3 members will have a Baron. And once the Elder gets taken, all 5 members will have that. Oh, flash forward HDK. Feeling aggressive, Dragon Blade trying to zip in and out, but your nurse is on the other side. Oh, that is dirty. There have been a lot of good TP flanks.
There definitely has been. It just shows you how aware each player is of the current game state and how they can take advantage of the vision that they have set up deep in the enemy's jungle or even just around the river. Is just so beneficial for having TPs. They do have double TP on the side of Skizm Esports as well as on the side of Rise, so definitely using the most out of them, I would say.
It's a 5v4 for another 25 seconds. 5 members with Elder, 3 members with Baron. I don't see how Rise win this, and well, HTK trying to make this a 5v3. Glacial Prism will land. HTK running through Rise. Sanctus will be able to find the kill, but the Permafrost will land. Sanctus stays alive for so long, but eventually gets taken down. Another 2 kills for Skizm. They will take the inhibitor. They will march to the base. It is a 3v2, pardon me. Your nurse and HTK got taken down, but the knock-up onto Dragon Blade. He can't find anything. Blade Caller will find his mark. Repel. But what goes up must come down. Skizm find the ace. Skizm find the Nexus, and Skizm will pick up their first win of ABL Worlds.
Yeah, that was a pretty solid game coming out from Skizm as the game progressed. The early game, it was relatively even. You had Rise with the lead, but as it evened out and you saw how many items each member was getting, the Xayah was getting incredibly fed, and Fiora just sitting there in the side lane providing so much split push pressure and just being able to essentially 1v3 at the end of that game, just being able to face tank so much damage coming out from Kai'Sa and Nautilus. It's just opened up the game completely for them, and when you can win fights 4v3 with only like one form of CC, then I think you've pretty much sealed the deal at that point.
Yeah, and going over to MVP vote, again, I feel like it could get given to quite a few players. I mean, Coffee, just consistent throughout the series, but then HTK, when he was needed, he found the picks that were necessary for the team.
Yeah, he was able to apply so much pressure there, and same thing with Funkles. Funkles caught out a few times, but it was definitely a good showing from him being able to give early leads to the laners that he needed to. If it was me, I'd probably say it was Coffee, because if I said HTK, I'd probably be called out for favoritism. But other than that, I mean, I feel like Coffee just played a lot of these fights incredibly well, and he was where he needed to be. He output the damage when it was needed to be put out, and he wasn't overstepping or costing costly deaths at certain points. Like, say, when that Baron fight happened and they were getting barreled down, he could have definitely stepped up on accident or, like, gone for that last bit of damage, but he kept his cool, waited out for Fiora to come in for the flank, and he's just been, I feel like he's just was most consistent out of everyone in the team.
All right, so we will try to get Coffee in for a quick interview before we do wrap things up for the day. Hello, Coffee, how are you doing, dude?
Hey, what's up? How are you? I'm pretty good.
Not too bad, not too bad. A good win for you and for the team.
Yeah.
What are the feelings like?
I feel pretty good right now. Didn't expect it to go that well. We were kind of behind, then we pulled it back, so I'm happy.
Yeah, it seems like you guys were just a bit behind. The game was even for the most part. I think the gold lead kind of like went up a couple thousand at some point, but you guys seemed to bring it back and essentially snowball it as the game progressed.
Yeah.
Like, what was your guys like game plan, or what was you guys think like your win condition was as the game was progressing?
Pretty much just splitting with Fiora. That was pretty much our game plan.
True. It's like at least I was mentioning it quite a bit because I play a bunch of the champs that were being played at least in this game, and I know for a fact that once Fiora gets to like that 3 item mark, especially on Death Stance, she just becomes
it's
like
disgusting.
Yeah.
First one-shotting Renekton. It's pretty insane.
But yeah, we bring you in because I wanted to like ask you a question. Like, we thought you were the MVP. I made a case by saying that you play out of everyone. Like, yeah, Fiora was a big impact of being able to split push and kind of spread the map. But I felt like when it came to the team fighting on where everyone needed to be, you were like the most consistent.
Thank you.
Out of it. So, I guess, yeah. You got a question, Milky?
Yeah, I was gonna say, you know, the first couple of games, you know, you were 0-2 against TFT, who are top of the standings. Do you think you can take down Rise again and pick up a 2-0 against US Army?
Oh, definitely. I'm ready for it.
Cool.
He's ready for it. He's putting in the work.
Oh, yeah.
Yes. A little off question for me. When the game got late and you built a BF sword and I saw that Vamp Scepter, I'm like, is this man legitimately building Bloodthirster and Renekton Nautilus and a fucking Elise?
Yeah.
What was the thought process behind that?
I ain't no bitch.
Not much. It's just like, you know what, man, we'll just go
damage.
for Bloodthirster.
Yeah, damage. That's all that matters.
Alright, final question. Any shout outs, Coffee?
Shout out to Nikita. Definitely.
Hey.
My support.
Shout out to
Nice.
the boy.
I wish my ADC could do that with me. But anyway, thank you very much for joining us for an interview, and best of luck to you and the team for the rest of ABL World.
Thank you. Thanks for bringing me on.
No worries at all. Alright, so you just heard from our MVP, Skizm Esports, ADC Coffee. Skizm picked up the win against Rise. It's a bit more of a drawn-out game than the 2 stomps from TFT against US Army. However, that's all that we have time for tonight. Thank you very much for tuning in from myself and from Swift. Any final words, Swift? Swift is dead. Swift is gone. So, on behalf of Swift, we apologize.
I'm sorry about that.
Oh,
sorry about
Swift's
that.
back.
Last second me, but yeah, I felt like it was a pretty solid set of games. Like, I enjoyed the first 2 a lot. It's pretty intense stoms, but this one was intense for a completely different reason. Really close games, and I just enjoyed seeing a lot of the champs that I play just being played out really well.
Well, thank you everyone for joining us. We'll be back next week on Tuesday, I believe. And thanks once again. We hope you've enjoyed the meme. Stay tilt-proof on the Rift, guys, and good night.